Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I've been making these thank you cards. It's not a difficult card to make by long chalk, but I want to show you some hints and tips about using the Stamp-a-ma-jig so that you can really get the most out of it. I'm only going to show you one. I'm not going to sit here and make 5, although it is relatively quick process, but I want to make sure that I concentrate on actually showing you and talking to you properly about it rather than just quickly scooting through it all. So to start off with, I'm going to use a card base, and this is from our a set of our notepads. They come in 20 cards, 20 envelopes, either in Whisper White or Crumb Cake, and they're £5.50 a pack, which means they're 27.5p for each card and envelope, which I think is absolutely amazing value. Right, okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is to prepare my Stamp-a-ma-jig. It comes in 2 parts. And there's this part that I call my Stamp-a-ma-jig, and there's this part that I call my template. There are obviously two sides to this, but the correct size to use is the bumpy side. It's a side that sounds rough. I won't do that too much because it might send your teeth on edge. You don't use a nice shiny side. You can see where light's reflecting on that, but it's the matte side. And what you need to do is just put the template on your work surface and then slide your template, your Stamp-a-ma-jig onto it, so that the Stamp-a-ma-jig actually sits right into that corner. Okay, so that goes like that. Once you've got that, let me just tell you about the stamp sets that I'm using. For the sentiment, I'm using Sassy Salutations, and I'm doing thank you. As you probably know, I really struggle with getting things straight, so that's really nice because it's not straight to start with, so I'm in with a good chance of getting that one right. And then Birthday Blossoms, I'm using the leaves and the flower. So for my template, I am going to use my sentiment, although it's not strictly necessary, but if you're new to using a Stamp-a-ma-jig, this part of the video is at least explaining, you know, how to do it. And between Newman and the gatepost, I still use my Stamp-a-ma-jig to get this bit correct. I had this as a tool, so, you know, I don't see why not to use it. So this is my stamp. I ink it up. I make sure that this is still properly lined up. And then I'm going to make sure that this corner runs down in that corner. So I'm lining up this side here against the side, the top against the top, and when I'm happy that that's fitting into the corner, I let it slide down onto my template and stamp. And there we go. It doesn't show very much because I am using quite a light colour. This is Pear Pizzazz. So what I'm going to do now, because I want a template for my leaves, I'm going to turn that around 90 degrees and put my template back in place again. Okay, so that's back onto the corner. I'm going to get my leaves, ink those up, and then I'm going to line this up and this up into the corner of my Stamp-a-ma-jig, and then when I'm happy that that's straight, I will let it slide down. And therefore then I have my leaves there. See that? Right, I'm going to do my sentiment first. Be careful with this, by the way, because it is still wet, and it stays like that for quite some time. Now I know that I want my card laid out like this, so what I'm going to do is I'm laying my card onto my grid paper and I'm lining the bottom up on this dark line down here. I'm going to use a pencil and draw a line across here so I know that that's where I want my sentiment to be. It's the base of the sentiment. Not sure what part of the base, but it's the base somewhere there. So I'll bring my card over, line it up with the base, make sure it's straight to start with, otherwise I really am onto a loser. And then I'm going to take my sentiment, which you can see quite nicely now, and I can see my line over here, and I want that level with it. That's about right. Just turn it slightly so I think it looks straightish. And I'm also making sure that I've got about the same amount of gap there as I have on that side. Maybe it should come over a little bit. So that's close enough, I think. So I bring my Stamp-a-ma-jig back in, line it up with my corner. When I'm happy with that, I can move my template out of the way. I can bring my stamp back in again. Oops. Let's put that on there. Got a towel here on my chair, just dry my finger. Okay, so I'm going to ink my stamp, and then I'm going to make sure that this lines up into my corner. So I'm going to line this side up first and then that. Okay, so the side's in, my top is in, and I'm just going to slide down. So now I have my sentiment exactly where I want it. Now I am going to do my flower, and I am using pink Pirouette. Now with my flower I have an arrow at the bottom because this can be punched out with our, I'm not sure quite what it's called, maybe, no, I don't know. I'll put the name on the screen for you. But with the arrow, it shows me if I stamp down that way, when I punch my flower out, I know that that is the bit that's going to go in. It's the only way that flower is going to fit in easily and correctly. For today, because we've got to make a mask for our flower, it's very handy to have that there. So keeping my arrow facing downwards, I'm going to stamp that. Now, to position my flower, I think that's probably about 3/8 of an inch up and possibly about 5/8 of an inch in. If I do it like that, then I know that there's plenty of room for my leaves to come in. Okay, so I'm going to ink my flower, keep my arrow coming down, and without leaning my head too far forward and into the camera, position that and lay it down. Okay, so that's nice. If I was doing a set of 5 again, I would do all of the sentiments and then all of the flowers, keep it going as a conveyor belt. It is so much quicker like that. But I don't want to do that on a video because I'll be too busy concentrating on getting it done in time and I might forget something important to tell you. So the next thing that we need to do is to make our mask. So I'm going to take a piece of a post-it note. In fact, I shouldn't have closed my ink, should I? I need that. So what I'm going to do is, again, because I need that arrow coming downwards, I'm going to stamp my flower with, this is a sticky bit, so I'm going to stamp my flower away from it. So again, without getting my head too far forward. There we go. And now that needs to be fussy cut out. Save that bit, that'll come in handy for something. So when you fussy cut this, it's important to cut as close on the edge of the outline as possible. Don't leave a spare edge of white. You certainly don't need it on this. If you did leave the white, it means when you come to stamp your leaves, you'd have a bigger gap than is necessary. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so just keep on cutting around there. I'm not going to make you watch me do all of it. I have prepared one earlier. The only other thing that you need to pay attention to is, okay, that's my sticky bit. My arrow was pointing down, so I need to mark my arrow on here so that I know that that was going down as well. Okay, so it will be like that. So this is the one that I did earlier, and I've done my arrow back and front. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adhere this onto my stamped image. Like that. And I'm going to turn my card around, because with my template, I've set my template up like this, and if I put my leaves where I want them to go, it means I'm going to have to put my template like that, which is going to be amazingly awkward. So what I do instead is turn my card around, and then I can place my leaves on top. Now what I'm looking for to get this correct is, as I'm putting this down, with this leaf here, let me see if I can put this on a piece of white to make it a bit easier to see. Right, okay. Where you're putting this bit down, don't allow this bit here, this white bit here, to show onto the cardstock. That should come onto the post-it note. Okay, you don't want a gap. So on this one I've got it all covered up. That's the outline of the leaf there and there, so that got post-it note all the way under it, and this one also has post-it note all the way under it. Okay, so that's going to be a very good position. Now as you can see, my template is really quite crooked, but it's not as bad as if I had left my card the right way round. Okay, so that's, I'm matching it up again, so I've got my corner here going into the corner of my template, and then being very careful not to move the card underneath. Oh, I didn't keep doing my ink up. No, that's right, isn't it? I don't need that, I need my green one. Nearly finished up with some pink leaves there. That would have been interesting. Right, okay, let's try again. So I'll hold that, ink my stamp up, and again line this up and this, and then allow it to slide down. Okay, so the side's in, the top is in, and I'm going to slide down. Okay, now when I take this off, the leaves are right behind the flower. Okay, that one seems to have gone pretty well. There is still a gap there. You can still see that I have a gap just between there. It's very, very tiny. I won't know whether you can see it until I actually start editing this. And there's a very, very thin gap there as well. But that really isn't going to be noticed at all when somebody receives the card. Now the last bit of stamping I have to do on my card are the leaves here. And of course, with my leaves on my template being this way, to get that done, I'm going to have to do it this way round and then put my template, my Stamp-a-ma-jig like that. And that really is not going to work. Oh, before I move on, what I wanted to tell you about these masks You can use them over and over again, but there is a saturation point where they won't work anymore. I reached it this morning, which is how I've learnt about this, and because I did so many, the ink actually started coming through the other side. Let me see if I can find a card. Yes, here we go. I had to put one aside. So can you see where the ink is started to come through on the actual flower? There's one very big bit that you can see there. Let's get my... Okay. That bit there, for example, shouldn't be there. And you can also see down here as well. It's got darker bits that shouldn't be there. But again, nobody's going to notice that apart from me. But you can avoid it by not overusing these. My next experiment is to hold on to this and leave it to dry out totally for a few days and see if I can reuse it again from there. So I'm watching for that. But this one only been used once, so that's got a lot of use left in it. So when you've finished doing your cards, file that away with your stamps so it's always there ready for you. Right, now to do this bit, I'm going to turn my card. I think, yes, I turned it at an angle like this. I found this was the easiest way to do it. What I want is, I want my stem to actually come off the card. I don't want it to be floating somewhere, and that's what I get with this. So that's the way my template, how I've got to use my template. Okay, so I can fit it down on here. Now what I do is I make sure that my stem is coming off, and then I try with my paper piercer, then I try to make sure that where that stem, the vein is rather, and that vein, I try and make sure I got the same amount of leaf both sides. I don't want to finish up that I've got the vein on this side with a titchy bit of leaf and a massive bit here. It doesn't look nice. Trust me, I've done it. Okay, so there we go. I'm happy with it positioned like that. So I'm going to put my... Oops, I moved that. Did you see? Let's try that again. Okay. So when you're doing this, make sure you're holding the card in place as well as the template. Okay, so I've got that back into the corner. I'm going to move that out of the way. Bring my leaf in. Lined it up, the side and the top, and then I'm stamping. There we go. So I've got the same amount of leaf both sides. So the last bit I did on here was the two little flowers, which you don't need to do because it's a thank you note, and I don't normally do so much on my thank you notes. I think I just got a bit carried away today, so I will do it as I'm here. So I've got a scrap of Whisper White. My stamp is from... Did you bring my stamp set over? Must have done, otherwise I wouldn't have it here, would I? And I can't see what I've done with it. I can't even think what it's called. Yes I do. It's something Punches. No, oh well, not to worry. The name will be on the screen. So I'm just going to stamp two flowers. And again, this is another one that has a right and a wrong bit, and I've got it upside down, haven't I? On this one of these petals, this one here, is more like a wavy line rather than these, which have all three got actual dips in them. Can you see that? This one at the top is a wavy line. These three dips, that one needs, you need to put your punch like that. That needs to be on the top right hand side. So I must really mark this stamp. I keep saying I'm going to do that. Oops, that wasn't very good. Let's turn it round the other way. That's better. And I'm using the little flower punch from the Itty Bitty punch pack. Don't know if I can, oh, I can get in that. No, that wasn't right though, was it? It's got to go that way. Yes, I can't go that far. I'll catch that flower later. There we go. I just give this a bit of dimension by popping it on my hand. You can use your paper, no, you can use your piercing mat. I have seen somebody who actually uses a piece of polystyrene as well. Okay, so what I do to pop these onto my work, oops, don't keep moving away. Oops, that's too much. I just put a little dab of Tombow. I'm going to have to wipe some of that off of that one. Otherwise that's going to go all over the place. Better. You could also use blue dots. That would work well on these. Now this one I'm just going to pop in between the leaves. And then I'm just going to finish off with a couple of small pearls. And there we go. I have to say that's a lot more fancy than my normal thank you cards, but I do like it. And you just fold your card in half. It's already scored for you. Okay, so how nice. I hope you give it a try. Hopefully you'll be needing lots of thank you cards after Christmas, if Father Christmas is good to you. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you've learnt some tips about getting the most out of your Stamp-a-ma-jig. Definitely something that I wouldn't want to have to work without. Many thanks for watching my video today. If you have any questions, please contact me because I am happy to help you. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the subscribe button, which should be on the right hand side of the screen, or it might be underneath the screen, depends what you're watching the video on. If you'd like to buy any of the products that I featured here, please click on the link that's showing at the bottom of the screen, and that will take you to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio!